Today I'm joined by Katherine Adamek. Katherine is short track speed skater and has competed for the US. Major achievements: Olympian 2010, silver medal in the 1,000 meters, bronze medal in the 3,000 meter relay. World champion in 2011, and you have accumulated 8 medals at the World Championships. Is that correct?
Yep, sounds good. Sounds right.
Katherine has moved on and is now a performance mindset specialist, keynote speaker, and last but not least, a fellow SNC coach. Welcome, Katherine.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Katherine, your passion for mindset coaching and fixing the mindset, where does it come from?
It comes from my own weaknesses in terms of mindset. I was always an athlete who what was good about my mindset was that I took a lot of responsibility to control as many variables as possible. As my career went on, I started to attempt to control things that were outside of my control, which can really only lead to disappointment and anxiety. And if you practice that long enough, you get yourself into a pretty, unhappy place where you're always unhappy with the outcome because you've always tried to control every single variable, and something out of control happens and all of a sudden it feels like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't ready enough. I didn't control the variables well enough. And taking that amount of responsibility for things, when it's done on the healthy side of the line, can really improve performance. When you're aware of what you can control and you actually do something about it, that's a key to high performance. But when you start to control, you think that you control things that are uncontrollable, you just create an anxious, terrible mental space. And so it was kind of my journey into and out of that helped give me the perspective that now allows me to help others. And that's really what it's all about. Is when I was done skating, I thought, like, how can I take everything I've learned and use it in a way that's going to help others? And that was, mental skills coaching is just really the number one way that I feel like I've been able to make an impact after I've been done with my sport.
Okay. And then, so if you look back at your career, what was your darkest moment?
My darkest moment was probably after the 2011 World Championships. I'd actually fallen in my best distance in the 1,000 meter, and so it's kind of a long story. I mean, you can imagine after 2010, I've got a silver and a bronze medal, and you have to kind of live through the letdown after that, because every time you're up, you have an equally down, and vice versa. Every time you're down, you know that there's an up coming, but winning an Olympic medal was an extremely up feeling, and so it had an extremely low feeling that followed it, a couple months later. And so in the middle of that low, that's when I found out that I needed hip surgery. So I stepped back from skating. I got surgery. I was out for like 16 weeks, I think. And so kind of battling the depression with the injury was very challenging, but it really motivated me to come back better than before, to kind of prove myself. So 2011 World Championships was less than a year after my surgery. I was hell-bent on proving myself. And going into the last day, I think I was tied for first place, and I fell in my best distance. And so twofold, right? On the one hand, well, shoot, I didn't get those points, so now I'm kind of in trouble from a point leader perspective. But also, I hurt my back, and I hurt it so much that I never skated at that elite of a level ever again. And we had 20 minutes between the 1,000 meter and the 3,000 meter. And I'll never forget going to the locker room and asking my trainer for help, and her literally being like, I don't know what to do. Like, let's just put some ice on it. Take some ibuprofen. Like, there's nothing we can do in this short of time frame that's going to help. And the amount of pain that my coaches helped me push through in the 3,000 meter, like I said, it was beyond significant. It was the type of pain that kept me from ever competing at that level ever again. And And it was a 27-lap race, and whoever won the world championship. And I had now fallen back far enough in points that, yeah, like anyone could beat me and take that away. And I went out too hard, man. I was too anxious. I was too afraid. I was in too much pain to think clearly. And I went out way too early. I tried to lead with 9 laps to go. And at 4 laps to go, a Korean girl went on the outside, and she must have been fresh, man. She just took off. She crushed me. She beat me by a full half a lap. And I mean, luckily, no one was super close behind me in third. So, I mean, I had second wrapped up for overall points. But that to me was a really dark moment to have worked so hard to come back and to be within minutes of achieving not just like this year's goal, but like a life goal, a life athletic goal, to be an overall world champion. And to fight that hard through that much pain and to still lose it. I was depressed for months after that. And then again, like that led into more injuries, more surgeries, more depression. And God, it was a really hard journey that spiraled out of control for a little while. But again, like that mental struggle is the reason why I have enough perspective to help others now. And so even though it was the hardest time in my life athletically, it's also a time that's given me the opportunity to be who I am now. And
how did you recover from that moment?
Not well. I'll be super honest. Like I didn't handle it well. I felt like a total and complete failure. I just really judged myself personally. Like if only I had been good enough, I could have made it go differently, or I could have done something better. I got very resentful of my coaches, for like, I pushed through all that pain and I still didn't achieve the goal. And then I had so much injury to recover from. And I was resentful that I had been encouraged to push through pain like that and then not even achieve the goal. And looking back, I can see that wasn't the right emotion. Of course, I'm happy that they pushed me in that moment. They gave me the opportunity to do something that I didn't think that I could. And I think that's really important. When we talk about mental toughness, the more opportunities someone can practice doing something that they don't think they can do, whether you actually win or not, you will have the perspective of knowing that you can do more than you thought in the first place. So I am grateful that they pushed me now. But yeah, like I said, I was in a dark place for a long time. I needed 2 more surgeries. I never came back to my sport at a world championship level. It was really hard to deal with. And I don't think that I truly moved on from that heartache until I made a comeback for the 2018 Olympic Games. And really the biggest reason why I made a comeback was because I needed to finish my sport on my terms. And I needed to get out of this depressed funk that I was in. And even if I never won another race, like I needed to finish feeling like me. And when I got the chance to do that, even though I didn't make another Olympic team, just being able to finish kind of letting my true colors shine as opposed to letting an external situation decide the outcome for me, that's really what I needed in order to get back on track.
And are you okay with it now? The reason I'm asking is I actually listened this week to a podcast from a former tennis champion professional. And he had one close final in 1988 where he was leading and he lost the final. And he said every time he steps into the stadium now as a commentator, he still feels the pain of losing that final.
No, I don't feel any kind of pain anymore, honestly. And I truly believe this. Like, again, I didn't have this perspective back then, but there's a quote that I like, and it says that service to others is the rent you pay for your time here on earth. And that saying really helps me believe that I'm not here to win Olympic medals. That's something cool I got to do along the way, but I'm here to pay my rent by serving others. And my experience, as hard as it was, has let me serve others in more powerful ways than just winning ever could. And I get a lot of I get a lot of purpose and meaning out of that, out of knowing that my failures are a more powerful way to help others than my successes.
Okay, that's good. What was your best moment?
Athletically or ever?
Both. Athletically.
Okay. Athletically, it was a race in Dresden, Germany, which has always been my favorite place to race. It's my favorite city to visit. It's my favorite crowd to skate in front of. Best food, like everything. It's my favorite place to go for skating. And it was a 1,000-meter final, and there were 3 Koreans and 2 Americans in the race. And so in speed skating, team skating is kind of a thing. And it's not normally done in a malicious way. It's just kind of, if you skate with the same group over and over again on your team, you know how they skate. And then when you get with skaters from other teams, it's easy to block them. It's just kind of, when you get comfortable with each other, it turns into team skating with no, malicious plan. But so I'm with 3 Koreans, and I know that they're going to get 3 together, and they're going to try to keep my teammate and I from getting to the front of the pack. So I decided that I was going to play the role of splitting up the Koreans. So my job was to be in front, and ideally to always stay in second. So if I could keep the first 2 Koreans apart, my teammate could try to keep 2 and 3 apart, and maybe we could both get a medal. And so I remember I go to the front, 1 Korean goes. I go to the front, a 2nd Korean goes. I go to the front, a 3rd Korean goes. And we do this for 6 laps. Like every half lap, maybe every lap is a pass. And one of the Koreans gets so tired, she falls down. She's just exhausted. And there's 2 others. One kind of falls back and starts fighting with my teammate. And then the other one, Unju Jung, she and I fought all the way until the very finish. And like I'm telling you, every half lap we were battling the entire time. And it's the most fun I've ever had in a race. And just like not worried about the outcome at all, just responding from that athletic place of like, oh yeah, I can do this. Oh, it's so fun. And on the last lap, I had an amazing pass set up. I got the timing done perfectly, and I was coming up the inside lane to the finish line. And Unju, she could hear me coming, and so she leaned over to the left to try to close that lane, and she leaned so hard that she fell down, and I fell with her. And so we battled so hard, we fell 10 feet from the finish line. My teammate, who was still back struggling with the other Korean, got to cross the line in first, which amen for her. But Unju and I got up, we got silver and bronze because the other skater got disqualified. But that was my most fun moment as an athlete. And again, like I'll just go back to this idea that I learned the most about myself in a moment of failure where that was my best effort, but I didn't achieve the goal. I didn't win the race. And yet looking back, that's the most fun I ever had racing.
Okay. There's something I wanted to ask. There's a TED Talk out there about happiness. And this person quotes a research where they looked at Olympic medalists. And they found that silver medalists are not as happy with their medal because they lost the top spot. Whilst bronze medalists are happier because they made it.
Got one.
You have a silver medal and a bronze medal in the same event. Which one is the sweeter one?
The silver, for sure, 100%. Because my bronze medal, and I'm nothing but grateful for my opportunity, but I'll be honest in that my team got 4th. We did not earn a bronze medal. Another team got disqualified, and we were gifted a bronze medal. And I've looked at the tape over and over again, and I don't believe that the Korean team deserved a disqualification. I truly, as an athlete, think that was a bad call. They had a gold medal kind of robbed from them. And so I'm grateful that I got to experience that with my team, that I got to raise my flag up and fist pump for my country. But again, respecting athletes and respecting what they can do, whether they win or lose, like that Korean team did not deserve to get disqualified. And so having won the silver, yeah, sure. I certainly replay the last half lap. I certainly think, what else could I have done? but I also replay Meng Wang, the girl who won. I replay her last lap, and I think to myself, we both did everything we could have done. Like, I was setting up to pass as hard as I could, and she was setting up to block me as hard as she could. And so I don't feel that I did anything wrong that day. I feel that I did everything that I could, and so did she. And that's why you watch sport, to figure out who's going to have it today. And so, again, like, maybe I didn't achieve the goal, and yet it's so much fun to know that you put the best version of yourself out there. How can you possibly be unhappy with the result?
Okay. And then I'm curious what you said in the beginning, the best moment ever. What was it then?
It was getting married to my husband.
Yeah, that's good. Cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just expand on that shortly, because when I was a kid, when I was 21, winning a medal, I really thought that that was going to be the best day of my life. And then fast forward 8 years later, and I have so much more perspective, and I can tell you that just walking into the room on my wedding day and seeing like my 100 favorite people, just the way they look at you, no one looks at you like that when you win a medal. You know, they're proud of you, they're happy, they're clapping, they know what it took to get there, but no one looks at you as just like pure love and joy and best wishes for you and your life ahead, like they do on your wedding day. And that was the best. That was the best day of my life so far.
Okay, cool. If you could go back in time 10, 15, maybe 20 years, what advice would you give a younger Katherine?
I would tell a younger version of myself. I would teach myself earlier that there's a bigger picture playing out that has nothing to do with me. Because I tend to take a lot of things personal. You know, if somebody's running late, and I'm better now, I don't do this so much anymore, but I used to, if someone's running late, they were disrespecting my time, right? Well, actually, they're stuck in traffic. It's not a big deal, you know, or they're having a bad day and they're struggling to get out of the house. It has nothing to do with me. It's not a big deal. So I would explain to myself that I should have more compassion for the way that the bigger picture is playing out, and not worry so much how it affects me, because I'm in charge of me, right? No one else is. And so I think when I learned how to stop taking other people's actions personally, it actually helped me take more responsibility for my actions. And I wish I'd learned that much younger.
Okay. What are the success habits of Katherine Adamek?
Success habits, that's a great question. I think that the number one thing I try to do every day is learn. I try to, so finding your why is kind of a big thing right now. And the practice that I've always done with that is I just ask, why is something important to you 5 times? And so if we do this right now, why is success important to me? And that would be because I enjoy putting forth my best effort and seeing the reward in that. Why is that important to me? Because I know that I'm capable of more than I think I can. I've learned that in my athletic career. I know that I can do more than I think I can. Why is doing more than I think I can important? Because I think that's really how you help people. I think that's really, you got to go a little deeper than you're comfortable with to help people. And that's important to me because I care about being kind. I care about paying my service to others. And so when I can break down not just what's the goal, but why am I motivated to achieve that goal, I can always bring it back to something about bettering myself in a hope to better the world, to better others. And I'd say that requires a lot of learning. It really does. It requires you to be constantly aware of what other people need and how you can help them. And it has very little to do with how smart you are. This is my favorite part. That people don't need me to be the smartest person in the room. People need me to be aware and to pay attention. And that's what I hope that I do that sets me apart. At the moment I'm in process. So 5-10 years from now, I can let you know if that's going well or not.
Okay. And were these also the habits that made you a successful athlete at such an early age?
No. Being a successful athlete at such an early age was just grit, determination, and willpower. And I visualized a lot. And I would say that's another thing that I still use now that I would call a significant success habit, was that when I was tired as an athlete, I would visualize what it felt like to win a race when you're tired. Or I would visualize what it would feel like to win an Olympic medal one day. And all of a sudden you're not tired anymore, or you at least understand that you're tired is helpful for you right now, and you can embrace it and use it to make you better. So, and I still use that trick right now, where like if I'm really stressed and really anxious, I visualize myself having a slow, calm day. Or if I'm having conflict with someone, I visualize myself taking a deep breath every time that I start to feel anxious. And if you wait for the moment that you need to do the right thing to think about what the right thing is, you're not gonna think of it, right? There's too much going on. But if you can predict, I always get stressed when this happens. Let me see that. Let me visualize that and breathe through it. I'm way more effective at managing whatever it is that's going wrong. And I did the same thing as an athlete.
Do you have a morning routine?
I do. It fluctuates, but my favorite thing to do in the morning is yoga. So I try to wake up early, and I like to have a cup of coffee. I like to sit outside when I drink my cup of coffee and just enjoy nature. We live in town, so it's really just the birds in my backyard or the squirrels eating my bird food out of the feeder. You know, it's like silly things, but I enjoy doing that for about a half an hour. I love getting in an hour of yoga. And then I usually make a list of the things that I want to do that day. And then I write. So first thing I do, I make a list. This helps me get all the things that I'm stressed about off of my mind. And then I go through and I say, well, what are the most important things to be done? And I star those things. And then that's where I start. So as long as my main focus for the day is to get my starred items done, any extra time I have, I get the other things done. But it's nice to know going into the day that the to-do list never ends. It never does. And so if I can just get done the important ones, and then tomorrow what didn't get done, tomorrow those ones will be the important ones. And giving myself that space, I don't have to get everything done every day. I have to prioritize and do a good job. And so that really helps me from getting overwhelmed.
Okay. Yeah, I also found that the to-do list never ends. I think one answer I found for myself is to be considerate what you put on your to-do list, because sometimes if you take a step back, you realize, is it something I really need to do? Does it really matter? So, and then the to-do list becomes less strong and you are less stressed if you look at it.
Absolutely. I've definitely done that too, where I'll go through my second time through my list and I'll star some, but then I look at others and same thing. Like, I'm stressed about that, but I don't actually need to do that. And then it can come off and you can relieve some stress that way too.
Yeah. How do you prepare for important moments?
My biggest thing when I prepare for important moments is to remember that perfect isn't real. And to me, that takes so much pressure off. I trust myself to do the best that I can in each moment, and questioning whether or not I will make the right choices beforehand doesn't help. And it's the same thing as an athlete. If I were to make a plan and think about it for an hour leading up to the race, I would just make myself nervous. But if I'd make a plan one time and then remind myself that, like, I know what to do, I trust my ability to learn and react properly in the moment, that kind of lets my preparation shine through. And I think that's a big part of it, because even in big moments, if you fail, you've traded your time for experience. And nobody likes to fail. That doesn't feel good. But sometimes it's really the only way to gain the perspective that you need to do better next time. And that's kind of what I try to remember in regards to big moments of, I think if I really think I've done everything I can to prepare, I'm either going to get what I prepared for, or I'm going to get more knowledge that will help me prepare next time. stressing myself out and hyping myself up does not work for me. I very much need to calm down and like cut myself a break to relieve some pressure. And that's how I deal with those really big, important moments.
And so, for example, when you step into the ring at the Olympic final, what did you do?
Breathe. Big breaths. That's all you can do. If you soak up the moment, you get too into it. You get too excited and you can't focus. And if you cut yourself off entirely, you're not, like I said, pressure. You're not your best you under pressure. And so all I could really do is just breathe, and to me, it's really helpful to look at things as I'm breathing. So I can say like, okay, there's a cone on the track. Like we have blocks that mark our track, or there's my coach, big breath. There's my mom in the stands, deep breath. There's the starter. He's about to start the race, big breath. Here's the start line. I'm skating up to it, big breath. And so it's so difficult and so important to notice the tiny little moments and to breathe through that. Because oxygen's the building block of life, really. You can't survive more than 2 minutes without it. The entire planet Earth is special because of its oxygen. And I wish that just people as a whole noticed the magic in that more often, because it really is quite magical. And so usually when we're stressed, our shoulders come up, our lungs kind of compress down, and you hyperventilate. You take these like really short breaths, and you're not feeding your body the energy that it needs to be ready in that moment. And so to combine breath with present mindedness really helped me stay focused in the moments when it was most necessary.
Cool. How do you overcome setbacks? We touched on that a little bit before, but what's the thought process or action process?
It's twofold. So step one is forgiveness, to forgive yourself for having messed up. Because, if you're like me, or if anyone listening is like me, what's unbearable about messing up is how mad you are at yourself afterwards, and what you're afraid that other people think of you afterwards. And so step one is realizing if you could have done a better job in the moment, you would have. Because failing sucks. You would have done better if it was available to you. And so forgive yourself for not having had that option at the time. And then now that you're feeling better, that you messed up, you can learn from it. If you're too busy hating yourself for making mistakes, it's really hard to learn the lesson from your mistakes. So once you've practiced that little bit of forgiveness, you can say, well, really, what can I do better next time? So I'll go back to my race with the Korean girl. I probably didn't need to pass every single lap. I probably could have let 1 or 2 chances go. And that way, when it was the last half lap, maybe I would have had more energy. I wouldn't have been so tired. And when she fell, I could have stayed on my feet. And so noted, okay, next time, even though that was fun and that was great, I can conserve more energy and I'll get a better result. But if you're sitting there like, oh, it was the perfect race, but I still lost and I hate myself for it. You do that. If you self-talk like that, you can't learn the lesson. So forgiveness, and then evaluate, and then take action. Just do something better next time.
Okay. Who's your role model and why?
I actually don't have a role model, and I'll tell you why. Because I spent a lot of my early life, especially young athlete life, copying athletes who were better than me. And I learned a lot that way, but I learned a lot from a lot of people. And if I had just chosen one person to role model, I don't think I would have learned so much. But I also believe that role models can show you what not it looks like. And so I consider every person that I interact with, you're either going to show me it, I'm going to admire something you've done, and I'm going to take action to do more of it in my life, or you're showing me not it. You're showing me an example of that's not how I want to be. That's not how I want to get things done. Noted. That's what not it looks like. And so there's really no one person that I idolize. I really try to look at everything and embrace the qualities that I enjoy and then learn from the qualities that I don't enjoy. And literally everyone in the world can teach you that. The lowliest person that you pass on the street may have the most kindness and the most humility of anyone you've ever met. And if you don't idolize them for even a moment, if you don't even consider that they have something to teach you, you'll miss the opportunity to learn. At the same time, you might have someone who's got $500 million and is clearly a huge success. And if clearly they're doing some things right. But I don't know, how do they treat the waiter? How do they treat the guy that parks their car? Like, sometimes that's not it. Sometimes you need to find those people, and maybe they don't have like the tangible successes, but they have that X factor that makes something or someone really, really good. And I want to take that away from everyone, no matter who they are or how we meet.
Okay, nice. The best advice. What's the best advice you received, and who gave it to you?
The best advice I ever received was from a coach named Adam Reedy, and he told me two different things. One time he said, looking good is feeling good is looking good. And so I'm nervous, and I'm at my like second ever international race, and I'm really self-conscious, and I keep going up to him like, Coach, how do I look? How do I look? Do I look good? And finally he got so tired of me asking. He said, Katherine, do you feel good? And I said, oh, yeah, no, I do. I feel fine. And he said, feeling good is looking good. And so he really encouraged me to not need other people to tell me I'm good, but to just go with like, are you feeling good? And he also told me there's a difference between leading and pulling. And so in speed skating, if you get in front, you want to control the pack if you're leading, but you don't want to pull the pack along, because then you just get tired. And I feel the same in life, where there's a difference between being a leader and being someone that people want to follow, and being someone who pulls other people along. People don't want to be pulled along, you know? And again, that goes back to that overly controlling tendency. You can't control everything. So being a leader is somewhat effortless, whereas being a puller, it's too much. So I've always kind of used both of those pieces of advice in my sport, but also in my life, as just a way to manage myself better.
And how do you do that? How do you do that? It's an interesting concept. How would you do that?
Yeah.
How would you lead rather than pull?
Yeah, kindness is the way that I have found. So, for example, so I coach now, and athletes tend to be resistant. Probably people in general too, because I'll use an example of an athlete I coached the other day. His shoulder hurts, his elbow hurts, and I'm speculating that he's feeling a little self-conscious because he's a phenomenal athlete. He can do anything you ask him to do. But today he's hurt. So he's feeling a little self-conscious and he can't do what I want him to do. If I insist on pulling, I'm going to say like, come on, man, push through it. You got this. Give me 5 more. But if I'm leading, I'm saying, I can tell you're really uncomfortable today. Something must be hurt. What's going on? Oh, my shoulder, coach, my elbow, this and that. Okay, let's modify. And then I can give him something equally as challenging that doesn't cause him to hurt. And, you know, one way I can pull him through that pain, and I can convince him to push himself harder. But in the other way, I can lead him to this idea that you don't have to be perfect to work hard. We can always modify. We can do something just a little bit different, and you still get to be the best version of you today without going against what's right for your body. And it's really subtle, and it requires a lot of present-mindedness and awareness. Like I said before, people don't need me to be the smartest one in the room. People need me to be there for them and to hear them and to speak to them and tell them what they need, which may or may not be what I would do, but that doesn't matter. I'm not here for me. I'm here for them. And again, I'm a little bit in process, so check in like 5 years and I'll tell you how it goes. But so far so good. I mean, it's the way that I've really found to best communicate with people.
Okay. Back in the days, how did a typical training day look like?
I'll go back to my early days training in Marquette, Michigan, with Jeroen Otter, actually, who I know has been on your podcast. He actually wasn't my coach. He left maybe 1 or 2 years before I got there, but that's why Marquette was a cool place to go, because of the coaches who had been there before. And so we would wake up at 5:25, be at the rink by 6, on ice at 7. You're on ice from 7 to 9, and then we would do we'd have a little break, maybe 15 minutes, and we'd do off ice training until 10. And then you had to hurry to the cafeteria because breakfast ended at 10. So you'd sprint over to the cafeteria, eat as much food as you could really. You could usually be home napping by 11:30 or 12, but we were back on at 1. And so jog to the rink. We were usually back on the ice in the afternoon for about an hour and a half. And then we'd do one of 3 things for our second dryland workout. We'd either do more skating specific work off the ice. We'd do some really hard running or biking intervals, or we would hit the weight room. But either way, I mean, they were super intense training days. Being up that early and then getting legitimately 4 different training sessions in 2 4-hour bouts, and then still having to go eat your food and see the athletic trainer and take a shower, and it was a really grueling schedule that we went through for about 2 years. School was in there too. I mean, it was a lot.
Okay. And you are now partly a strength and conditioning coach. Why did you choose for strength and conditioning and not skating?
Yeah, so I actually just was offered a full-time strength and conditioning coaching job. So I'm now full-time strength and conditioning.
Oh, nice.
My mindset coaching has gone, well, I still do a lot of public speaking, which I greatly enjoy, but why I chose strength and conditioning is because skating is extremely technical. And what I found over time was that if you aren't strong enough to hold a position, you have no chance at good technique. But kids will beat their heads on the wall trying to sit low enough or get their knee in the right position or control their shoulders around the corner. And we can fix that. We can fix that with strength and conditioning exercises. And so now what you know how to do conceptually, when you're strong enough to actually do it, all the pieces fit together and you're a better athlete for it. And so that's why I love the weight room more than even being on the ice. But then the job that I took was with a hockey team. And so to me, this is ideal because I get to teach them how to be strong, but I also get to teach them how to skate faster. And in speed skating, it's so detail oriented, which is something that I love about it. But taking what I learned from that and then transitioning it over to a sport that maybe hasn't embraced all there is to learn about the extremely fine-tuned technique of skating, it's a really great mix for me to do both. And I know I'm answering really long here, but one more reason I really love the weight room is because you can see athletes when the wheels fall off mentally. You can see them going through that anxiety of I don't think I can do this, or it's easier to get distracted than to do 5 more reps. And from a mental perspective, to step in at that moment and say, what are you going through right now? Do you feel how you're getting distracted? Are you able to come back to this present moment and keep working hard? Again, if you wait till the moment in the game that you have to do that, you've waited too long. You have to be able to see that coming and visualize it and practice pushing through that moment. And I can do that in real time in the weight room. And that's what I love about it.
That's interesting. And now I extend the question even a bit more. Something that's really interesting for me, if we look at, for example, in strength and conditioning, and we look at certain sports that require a change of direction, basketball, handball, whatever it might be. Yep. Very often you see track and field coaches going in looking at running techniques. So these athletes are not always good runners, but the change of direction requires a bit of different running technique than straight line running. now my question. How is it with skating, right? I mean, you guys use skate straight or, in a circle. But ice hockey is also about changing direction. So how does that relate? So how much of the skating technique as you know them can you teach? And how different is the actually ice hockey skating technique?
So great question. And again, it's the combination of all the things that I enjoy about hockey. And that goes back to the idea of like always learning, always finding new ideas to study that are intriguing. I love doing that. So combining my own training in running, my own training in strength and conditioning and skating, when you're changing direction, you need the same type of core and glute control as you need to hit a pivot going around a corner at top speed in speed skating. And so a pivot is the highest amount of pressure you have on your body when you're going around the track. So you need to know how to be compact and absorb that pressure while speeding through it. And so that's kind of the philosophy that I take into the change of direction. Even though we're adding this element of deceleration and acceleration, controlling your body as physics are acting on it to try to mess it up, that feeling is the same. And then again, going into this idea of if you don't have a strong core, you can't change direction quickly. If every time your leg stops, your shoulders keep going, you have no chance. And so maybe an athlete has perfect skating form, but their core can't shock absorb. So we need to be hitting planks and anti-rotation lunges and pal-off presses. And that to me is like, if I can, like I said, if I can just make them stronger in the right position, the technique will start to come together easily. Does that kind of answer it?
I think it does.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Do you want to nominate someone to be interviewed?
I do. I have two people that I think would be phenomenal. One, his name's Joey Cheek. He's a long track speed skater. I think he's got 2 gold medals and just a rock star of a person. And then my second one would be Travis Janer. Another, he's a short track speed skater, Olympic bronze medalist. And the reason both these guys would be great fits is just because I would imagine you want people on your show that have good stories to tell, and just it always stands out to me when you have a phenomenal athlete who's also a phenomenal person. And those are the kind of people that I try to put into my corner, and those are the kind of people that I would like to nominate for you to put into your corner.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
So I can be found online. I'm probably most active on Facebook and Instagram. And so my Facebook name is Katherine.reutter-adamek. And then my Instagram is Kat Adamek. And so I try to post, like encouraging mindset things and all the things that I'm learning about how to skate faster, how to build strength in new ways. And then anybody that has questions or wants to like share a story, you can always direct message me, and I love hearing from people. So yeah, please check me out, reach out.
And your website is fixyourmindset.com, right?
Yes, yep. And so if anybody wants to shoot me an email or learn more about like the type of mental skills training that I use with athletes, going to that website, you can learn a lot there. And again, find my email address and reach out.
And I saw you offer a broad range of services. Who's eligible to that?
Honestly, who's eligible for that? People who want to learn, people who want to get better, and also people who understand that I'm not the magic sauce, right? Like being on the phone with me once a week is not going to solve your problems. You're going to solve your problems. I'm going to help share the perspective that you need in order to get there. And so anyone who's encouraged by that and excited by that, like that's who I work with.
Cool.
Yeah.
Katherine, thanks for your time.
Christian, thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
Awesome.